This happened almost 2.5 years ago, in October 2012. That year, I graduated from college and decided that I was already too old to live with my parents. My choice, like the choice of many young people like me, settled on a cheap rented apartment, my first real place of residence. At that time, it didn't matter to me what was in it and what wasn't. It was a one-room, but fairly decent-sized apartment, the main space in which was occupied by a room with a very high ceiling. In order to change a light bulb, I had to put it on table and stool, otherwise I couldn't reach it. Renting an apartment was surprisingly cheap, but I chalked it up to the honesty of its owners. No washing machine, no bath, tiled shower room, tiny kitchenette. In a word, only everything you need for life. This didn't scare me. I washed my simple belongings in the sink and hung them to dry in the kitchen. At first, I was so absorbed in my independent life that I did not notice anything around me. Almost nothing. I left very early and came late. Sometimes I didn't even spend the night in my apartment. But it didn't last that long, only a week. Then something strange began to happen. It became more difficult for me to fall asleep. No matter how exhausted I was, I couldn't sleep. I sat late at night with my laptop or e-reader at my desk or in bed, and I began to feel more and more anxious in the evening and at night. It grew every day, despite the fact that I didn't watch horror films, didn't read books of a similar genre, didn't sit on websites on relevant topics, and nothing frightening happened in my life. In a word, everything was normal, except for this feeling. I soon noticed something else. My cat used to sleep on my bed during the day, but in the evening she would bypass this place and go to the kitchen, settling on the refrigerator. The refrigerator rattled and creaked and was hardly conducive to a good night's sleep, but she was adamant. It never occurred to me to take her with me, until one evening, when anxiety became not only much stronger than before, but turned into something frightening. It seemed to me as if someone was standing behind me, and when I sat with my back to the wall and buried my gaze in a book, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a movement on the threshold of the room. I looked up sharply. No one. But my heart beat faster. I looked up. I couldn't say exactly what happened, but something was wrong. The air in front of me looked somehow strange, as if broken into pixels. I froze. He blinked. No, it didn't seem like it. And really, I wanted to find myself somewhere far away from here, never to appear here again. And why? I could not have answered this question then. After all, nothing in essence happened. I could just sit at the computer for a while. Yes, that's probably what happened. I put the book down and, getting out of bed, left the room. More precisely, he stopped on the threshold and, quickly stretching out his hand, turned on the light in the kitchen. An electric light bulb reliably illuminated her space. The cat was sleeping on the refrigerator. My things were swinging on a rope. Everything was normal, calm, and not scary at all. I picked up the cat and carried it to my room. As soon as her body touched my bed, she jumped up, as if I had thrown her into the water, and laid her ears to her head. It should be said that my cat is very affectionate towards strangers and familiar people, and she always follows on my heels and does not miss the opportunity to sleep not just on my bed, but on me. I stroked her back, talked to her, convincing her and myself that there was nothing wrong, that it was late and I needed to sleep. I don't know how I managed to persuade the cat and myself, but I turned off the light and we went to bed. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. It was night outside, but perhaps it was pre-dawn darkness. I woke up not from a bad dream, not from a touch. I woke up because my cat was hissing. She stood on the bed. Every muscle of her was tense. Arched back, bristling fur. She looked straight ahead. I looked at the cat and realized that I would probably rather die than look up, but I still looked up. I understood why she hissed. There was a figure right in front of us. It looked blurry and indistinct, but it was certainly a human figure. A dark silhouette drawn in the air with exactly the same pixels that I had seen in the light. The figure did not move or act in any way. It seemed to be watching. That second that I looked at her probably lasted a billion years. The next I flew out of bed like a bullet and rushed to the light switch. The light spread throughout the room, and I, like hell from incense, shied away from the dark doorway leading into the corridor. It seemed to me that someone was hiding there too. I sat down on the bed next to the cat, took her in my arms, and pressed her to me. We didn't sleep anymore that night. I was watching stupid comedies that were on my computer and was very afraid to leave the room. But the next day brought me a new job, and by evening, everything that happened began to seem like a dream. Or rather, I convinced myself of this. Dream, it seemed. I sat at the computer for a while, but still I tried not to remember it. At just the memory, my heart began to beat rapidly in my chest. Therefore, when I went to bed, I left the lights on in all rooms, the room, the kitchen, the corridor, the toilet, and the small tiled shower room. I got up with an alarm early in the morning and, half asleep, didn't immediately realize what was wrong. Only after turning on the kettle and turning off the light in the kitchen did I realize the light in the room was not on. I checked the light bulb, but it didn't burn out. There were no traffic jams. Everything was okay. Everything is fine. Everything is fine, I repeated to myself on the way home from work, as if wound up. I knew that today I wouldn't sleep all the way. The next day is Saturday, I can get some sleep. I mentally made a list of movies to watch at night. Among them, there was not a single horror film or even a hint of something sinister. The cat purred on its lap. The heroes found themselves in stupid situations and behaved even more idiotically. Time was probably moving smoothly towards 2 or 3 in the morning when I looked up. If I were an old man or a person with a bad heart, I would die. Sitting at the computer, I would have died of a broken heart. The light was on in my room. The same figure appeared right in front of me in the thick air. Thanks to the light, it seemed more distinct and clear. The cat, dozing off on my knees, jumped up and, arching its back, hissed, and I sat neither alive nor dead from horror, looking doomedly into the other corner of the room, where the same figure appeared, only seemingly bent over. The third was at the doorway. I threw away the laptop, grabbed the cat in my arms, and rushed to the switch, as if this could save me. I clicked it twice, turned it on and off. We were alone in the room. Alone. I drank almost a ton of tea during that night's stub that remained until dawn. Now this will seem funny, but I even went to the toilet holding a cat in my hands. I was afraid that when I returned, I would not see her again. I tried not to leave the room. On Saturday morning, I went to church. I can't say that I'm a very religious person, but I just didn't know what to do. All my family and friends were in another city, far, far away from me. I returned home with holy water, which I carefully sprinkled all the corners with, repeating the prayer. In the daylight, when the gentle sun was peeking through the window, I felt like an idiot who didn't have money for a psychologist, but as soon as I started to think in that direction, the memories of the past night rose very vividly before my eyes. The next night passed peacefully, and another one, and further, and all the subsequent nights that I had in that apartment, until I moved out, going to my own,